Hello, I'm Mantastic and Fantastic, and today I'm going to be reviewing the gracious Banquet Godfest that is coming up on Wednesday, November 30th. So, this Godfest comes as a bit of a surprise. It's in the middle of the week for starters, and it's pretty much conflicting and overlapping with the Final Fantasy collab. So, Gung-Ho is maybe making a big grab for Magic Stones of lots of different exciting events, and the Gracious Banquet Godfest does feature the exciting new Wisdom King series. And it's these Wisdom Kings that have just been released, they're a powerful new pantheon, and they're actually being paired with respectable other series, so you don't actually have to worry about rolling necessarily bad cards from the featured Godfest pantheon. So it is well worth taking a look at. Whether you decide to roll this or Final Fantasy or continue saving your stones for what would be an anticipated Player's Choice Godfest, which I don't know when that's going to occur, is up to you and your monster box. You have to decide, will the Final Fantasy collab give you more value and benefit because it is time sensitive, or will the featured pantheons here provide more value? Or conversely, if it's Player's Choice Godfest, will what we hope is intelligent voting decisions feature strong cards? So that's where you have to decide if you are able to roll or not. And the purpose of this video is going to be to discuss all the different monsters that are featured here. So on day one, we have the Greco-Roman 2 series as well as the Wisdom Kings. And that's day one. And day two, there's the Three Kingdoms with the Wisdom Kings once again. In addition, we also have a variety of Godfest exclusives paired with them, and on day one, we actually have the Kalis and Kaede, and that is a bit stronger by comparison, even though there is the Odins and the Sonyas, because like the Odins, Sonyas, Metatrons are kind of the weakest three of the Pantheon, but Red Odin still has value, and Green Odin does have a reasonable amount of value now as well, so it's not as bad as it may seem. So the day one definitely, I'd say, wins out for the featured Godfest exclusives compared to day two, just because of the Kalis and the Kaede being featured, because they are parts of the current top tier teams. So looking at the various Pantheon monsters, as an overall theme, the Greco-Roman 2 series is a double orb changer for their respective color. They change one other element plus hearts into their primary attribute, and this is great for flooding the board for monocolor teams. However, because they change heart orbs, they have less value in a heart cross meta, and that can diminish their value. However, if we start seeing more leaders such as Krishna evolving or coming out, the Greco 2 Pantheon will start to become more valuable because you want to flood the board with those orbs. And right now, Ares is in a good spot because Krishna is doing so well. Conversely, the Wisdom Kings Pantheon is the newest Pantheon available, and they feature unique actives and leader skills. They all have a very unique kit in that they bring a new amount of utility or power that we don't have presently. Their leader skills range from interesting no Skyfall mechanics to hidden resolve, or like wonderful resolve killers, as well as color cross that can reach up to 1,640 times. So there's a lot of value here. Furthermore, the Wisdom Kings are strong right from the get-go. They have value as soon as you roll them. You don't have to awaken them, you don't have to reincarnate them. They're good right away, and that is tremendously valuable. So there is a lot of value in trying to acquire the Wisdom Kings, as they will do something different that you did not have before. So adding dimension and diversity to your monster box is always a good option. So I'm going to be going through over all the cards individually now, and first off is Ares, and Awoken Ares would make a strong sub on Reincarnated Shiva because you want those dual 2-prongs. This Fire Skyfall synergize as well, and he even can be used on Raho teams. Furthermore, he does lose his god typing, so you may not be able to use him on Shiva Dragon, but currently speaking, Shiva Dragon is not used. Maybe there'll be a buff in the future because Raw Dragon got one. Hopefully Shiva Dragon follows suit. But for now, Awoken Ares won't be used there, but that's no loss. However, with the release of Ultimately Evolved Krishna, Ares, as a general, generally speaking, has become more valuable because with Ares active either if you're awoken or non-awoken, you are able to flood the board with fire orbs, make at least 2 rows, and deal spectacular burst damage while triggering your full multiplier. So Ares is very powerful, and for myself and my Krishna team, I'm actually using the Fire Light Ares. Yes, I lose out on the Skyfall benefit. However, Fire Light Ares has more health, which is more important than high attack, and he also has more rows and no orb enhances. Now, it sounds weird like saying I don't want orb enhance, but this is because it makes damage control an issue. By by having all your orbs come enhanced and have an excessive amount of orb enhances because of Krishna, you are actually struggling to form damage control, because say you're fighting Vishnu, you might be doing too much damage because of all these enhanced orbs, and if you keep loading up more and more on enhanced orbs, you're going to have issues with that damage control. Same can be said if we encounter new bosses with various absorption mechanics. So that's why Fire Light Ares I find works better. However, Awoken Ares' active skill is superior, so what you can do if you have duplicates is inherit the Awoken Ares onto your Krishna. That way you upgrade Krishna's leader skill, you retain the Skyfall benefit while having a giant orb changer. As a leader, Awoken Ares forms a 4 times health, 36 times attack team. Not very good because lots of health is nice, but you can't recover from it, so it does not accomplish very much overall. Next is Hermes, and Hermes has 3 viable evolutions, and generally speaking, Blue Dark is best for Neptune Dragon, who is outdated. Blue Light is basically the best for Sonya because of the physical typing, as well as for Neptune Dragon because of the god typing. And Awoken Ares is for every other water team except for basically Neptune Dragon and Blue Sonya. But in all actuality, it's really Awoken and Blue Light who are the strongest, because if you look at Blue Dark, they have 1 more row and a 2-prong versus Blue Light's Devil Killer. And the Devil Killer is obviously situational, but Blue Light Hermes has way more base health compared to Blue Dark Hermes, and having more attack does not help very much in all honesty, because more attack does not solve many problems. Like, you rather have the health to survive new thresholds of damage, so I find the Blue Light superior than Blue Dark in most cases. Conversely, Awoken Hermes is generally the best option because he does have the best awakenings. He has 2 rows, 2 orb enhances, a single 2-prong if you need a bit of burst damage. But Awoken Hermes does obviously lack the god typing, and he also lacks the health. So again, if you need the health, Blue Light is superior. And when you're playing on a Sarasvati team, I use mine interchangeably. I tend to pull lots of duplicates of the same monster, and Hermes is no exception. And I use my Awoken and Blue Light interchangeably on my team based on whether I need the health, the Devil Killer, or the Skyfall enhancement. So it all depends on what you're needing them for, but generally speaking, Awoken is a pretty safe bet. Furthermore, Awoken Hermes is actually a powerful leader. He has 2 times health, 48 times attack, and 2 times recovery when paired with Awoken Sun Quan. Yes, you have to match fire and water orbs, but that's a pretty powerful tank team in all honesty. Next is Artemis, and Artemis is kind of a bit lackluster because wood teams are not necessarily using her as a sub at the moment, because wood rows are not very popular, and Australis' active skill is kind of a direct upgrade in most cases. However, Awoken Artemis is a powerful option for Balboa teams when paired with Balboa as a leader, because you form 2 times health, 36 times attack, and 2 times recovery. And again, that's a pretty durable tank team, and you have to obviously match wood and water, but it's still an option. And it is powerful because you have access to a lot of TPA or wood row subs. Furthermore, Awoken Artemis is a reasonable sub for Awoken Astaroth teams, even though she's outdated, but it's worth mentioning. So, next is Apollo, and presently Awoken Apollo is a pretty wonderful option for mono light teams. He has orb enhances, he has dual 2-prongs, and he has that powerful double orb change with the Skyfall. However, he does lose the rows, but on teams that are requiring rows, it can be okay because you are able to use this orb enhances to a lot of benefit. Furthermore, Awoken Apollo has a much better stat distribution. He's much heavier in recovery than any of the other Apollos, and he has just higher weighted stats overall. Furthermore, that wood sub typing can be used on a variety of hybrid rainbow teams such as Awoken DQXQ or Yuna, because you are able to use his orb changer to flood the board with your primary damage dealing colors and still activate the rainbow component of your leader skill. In addition, you can use him as a situational sub on your Miru teams. Yes, he does break hard orbs, however, you are able to use, say, Miru's active or another orb changer in conjunction to correct the lack of hard orbs. It's more so beneficial in shorter dungeons, because longer dungeons it can be problematic, but it's something to consider if you're short a single sub. And finally we come to Persephone, and Awoken Persephone is largely the superior choice in pretty much every scenario. She does lose her god typing, so Yomi Dragon teams can't use her. However, she does retain that devil typing, which makes her beautiful in Lucifer, Pandora, and no banana teams, because she has a beautiful active. Her active does change light and hearts to dark with a 2-turn Skyfall, so she is kind of like Escalamari, but she has more 2 prongs, more recovery, and those enhanced heal orbs. And those enhanced heal orbs will be converted into enhanced dark orbs after you use her active. So there's a lot of value there. In addition, she actually forms quite a powerful tank team with dual Persephones because you have 2.25 times health and recovery alongside 20.25 times attack. This team can definitely clear content like Arena 1, and it's quite safe to play. So overall, the Greco-Romans are quite powerful if you don't care about the Heart Cross meta. Next is the Wisdom Kings, and this is going to be pretty much the same content as my previous video with me failing to pronounce names. So the Red Wisdom King is interesting skill-based combo leader because you gain bonus health, like you gain 2.25 times health and up to 196 times attack with 9 combos. In addition, you also have 49 times recovery, which is completely overkill. I don't know why they chose 49. It would have been fine with just 4 times, but 49 is overkill, so you heal to full health. However, there are no Skyfalls, and in order to trigger your big recovery and big damage, you have to hit 8 combos. So this is kind of similar to Awoken Kushinadahim, in which you have the no Skyfall clause. However, you have no scaling component. You're pretty much 4 times attack or 144 times attack. There's no middle ground. You're just dealing big damage or no damage. And that augmented health pool is valuable because you can tank hits to help set up a board or produce a board that's more favorable, and the gigantic recovery allows you to heal to full health every single time. So it's going to be a tricky to use leader, but it's a very powerful leader if you're able to manage the Skyfalls mechanics, or the no Skyfall clause. Outside of a leadership potential, Trail Yakajovaya has a unique active because they deal exactly 20% damage that is equal to the enemy's maximum health. So it's basically 20% true damage based on their maximum hit points. So you're dealing 1/5 their health every single time. So in theory, you can execute a boss as well as guaranteeing a fixed amount of damage to push a resolve boss into a more favorable zone. In theory, if you had 5 of these actives, you could instantly execute any boss in the game. Not applicable because you have to roll 5 and then you have no other sub slots and abilities, but something to keep in mind, might be useful for cheese teams in co-op especially. Next is Kundali, and Kundali is another no Skyfall leader, and they are essentially an inferior Sarasvati. They are able to achieve 100 times attack at 4 water combos. Sarasvati achieves 100 times with 3, so you automatically have to make 3 more water orbs and connect them, of course, as a unique combo to achieve the same multiplier. And you have no Skyfalls to help you out, so you can't luck out. Furthermore, Sarasvati can stack rows more efficiently because since you only need to have 3 combos, you can stack up to 3 rows and deal far more burst damage by comparison. Kundali is not able to utilize rows as well, and is probably going to have to rely on 2-prong attacks by comparison. But even then, you're quite orb hungry. But the benefits of Kundali is that you actually have a passive 36% damage reduction, so you are a bit more durable, but you're not as powerful or potent of a glass cannon leader as you should be because you're still quite fragile. So I would probably be running Sarasvati over Kundali in most cases, just because if I want to deal damage, I'd rather be able to deal damage more easily and I don't have to worry about the survivability. For instance, right now I'm running Special Descend Rush for the SDR latent invades, and I'm using Sarasvati, and if I even had Kundali, I would probably run Sarasvati just because I can use less orbs, and it's just easier to manage your damage that way. However, Kundali does have a very powerful active. He converts fire and hearts to water, as well as +1 to combo count. So you do have at least some way to augment your damage, and he does make a very powerful inherit because you can use him kind of like how you would use your Hermes, except you have combo synergy with Skald, and you actually have wonderful combo synergy with Awoken Yumesachi Yamasachi, because Yumesachi Yamasachi does not use fire or heart orbs for activation, and Kundali might make a very good wood option even for his team, because you flood the board with your water orbs, and 400 times is unstoppable. Next is Akala, and Akala is the easiest name to say, and she's the most powerful leader of the series. So Akala is another no Skyfall based leader who relies on matching color crosses. in Japan, she has received a buff to be able to match wood crosses and fire crosses for damage, and she will cap out at 1,640 times attack. Ridiculous, but more realistically, you have 182 times attack for 2 color crosses. Right now, you only can match wood, so we have to wait for that fire buff, but when that fire buff comes, she's going to be very formidable because she provides 2.25 times health and 2.25 times recovery for your wood attribute monsters. So you load up on wood subs, you're a very tanky team. You'll hit probably 50 to 60,000 health. So you're going to be very durable, you have great recovery, and you have great damage control because with no Skyfalls, you never trigger matches that you did not want to do. And you do have modest amount of damage control or scaling because, like I said, 2 crosses is 182 times. You can definitely pick off a lot of, you'll kill most content with that. And when you get the 3 crosses, everything dies. You can kill pre-draws without bringing a laser, so that saves up sub-slots. And 1 color cross results in 4.5, but 20.25 times attack. So that's reasonable for killing a lot of trash floors. So you have lots of options. Unfortunately, Akala's active skill is kind of lackluster. It adds 1 combo count, which doesn't help her that much, except when you're trying to overcome combo shields, and 1 turn of haste. So you're basically just a 1 turn of haste in most regards, so it's not that beneficial. So you may want to override her active with something more impactful, say like even Osiris or Verdandi especially, because Verdandi produces a beautiful board. And because of this lackluster active, she's not going to have much leadership potential, or sorry, sub potential, because it's just not that beneficial of an active in most cases. Next is the Yellow Wisdom King, whose name I won't be able to pronounce, and they have a very modest amount. They have a very modest rainbow leader potential. They achieve 36 times with all 6 color activation of dual leaders. However, they actually do a 30 times of their own attack value after every match, and that extra attack value, like it's like maybe like a 20,000 hit, whatever. Let's say whatever it is. I don't know, but it hits the enemy. And it hits the enemy for X amount of damage. But this occurs after your combos, so that means you actually kill any resolve boss in the game. So, say you're fighting, say, Hino Kagetsugu. You do your big burst damage, you one-shot him. Normally, he'd delay all your skills by 99 turns. In this case here, you actually kill him because you get this extra attack before the resolve effect triggers, because the boss is brought down to 1 health, and then they're executed by this true damage, or this attack value. So, this is beautiful, and you should honestly pair him with higher rainbow leaders like Raw Dragon, Ranove, and DQXQ as a way to overcoming resolve bosses. You're not going to use them all the time, but having the option to execute any resolve boss with ease is invaluable in all honesty. You don't have to gimp your team setup, bring weird subs. Like, yes, your damage goes down, but Raw Dragon, Ranove, DQXQ all achieve very high damage. So it is you are very capable of clearing content with him under niche situations. In addition, his active skill is actually quite interesting. It provides 2 times light attack for 3 turns and 1 turn haste. So it is an upgrade from the Norse gods. However, it still pales in comparison compared to the Gemstone princesses, but those are much harder to acquire by comparison, and having 3 turns of damage enhance can save you actives going through a longer dungeon. Last, and most certainly not least, is the Dark Wisdom King, whose name, again, I don't know how you pronounce that. They are basically a dark equivalent to the light one, in that they provide the 2 times damage for dark teams for 3 turns with 1 turn haste. And their leader skill has the same damage after effect, so you can execute any resolve boss, except they're reliant on matching combos, so they have to make up to 8 combos to do that. So you can pair of cards like, say, Awoken Oku to deal damage and deal with resolve bosses. Niche uses, but still, again, it's something new that we don't have available right now, so this is a great way to deal with those mechanics. Day 2 features the 3 kingdoms, as well as the Wisdom Kings again. So the 3 kingdoms pantheon overall is still one of the strongest available. They have a lot of leadership potential. They also have the most powerful co-op leader in Awoken Liu Bei, because in all honesty, most people have either acquired some way, shape, or form of Awoken Liu Bei teams, or even other leaders that can pair with him to form button teams that just mow through content with ease. You basically pop a Zeus Dios active, swipe, and things die. It's maybe killed a lot of the combo aspect of the game, but it's given people ease of access. Furthermore, DQXQ is a powerful sub on light teams. Sun Quan is a great leader or inherit or sub. Awoken Cao Cao has regained viability with Krishna, and Lu Bu is just kind of lacking at the moment. So I'm going to go through each of them individually, and I'm not going to repeat the Wisdom Kings again because you just heard that. So Awoken Cao Cao has gained a lot of viability, especially with Krishna, but he can try and emulate Awoken Liu Bei team, except the problem is you don't have a good Zeus Dios equivalent because we don't have a card that's equivalent to Zeus Dios in Fire, because Zeus Dios has the co-op multiplier boost, better awakening, skill boost, so on and so forth. So Cao Cao teams are a little sadder by comparison. You can use Goemons, you can use Sutures, but it's just not as efficient overall. However, Awoken Cao Cao is able to form a very powerful, traditional matching team because you have access to Scarlets. And in theory, if you have 4 Scarlets as subs, you're actually able to form a haste system and use 1 active every turn. So you always have your 64 times attack, 4 times recovery at all times. So that is pretty amazing. And Awoken Cao Cao can be used as a sub. He is bind immune, he has water and poison removal into fire orbs, so you can tidy up your board and 1 turn delay. So you can use that to avoid resolve bosses like Zeus Hera in Arena, help make your life a little easier in Vishnu, so on and so forth. So Awoken Cao Cao has a lot of value here. He has great value on Krishna teams. Furthermore, he's used oftentimes as a way to inherit a bind clear active. Because his awakenings are so offensive and favorable, you can inherit a bind clearing active on top of him and use him like that. Furthermore, after you dump the bind clear, you still have a valuable active afterwards. So he is a tremendously powerful sub on Krishna teams. Outside of Krishna, his Fire Wood form may have more value on Shiva because the 2-prong reliance when reincarnated Shiva comes out. But overall, it's just not as great as Krishna, mostly because Shiva doesn't have the health bonus. Awoken Sun Quan has 2 turns of delay, 2 turns water attack for 2 turns. So he's essentially a more utility-oriented Awoken I active because you have the 2 turns of damage enhance, but you also have 2 turns of delay. So you can use them in both. You can use them either way or together, and that flexibility is invaluable. I will definitely take 2 turns of delay and 1 additional turn of cooldown over a single turn of haste. Any day of the week, I'll take that. So Awoken Sun Quan has tremendous value as an inherit, or even as a sub on any mono water team, and his physical typing allows you to use him on Blue Sonya teams, so he can be used on any good mono water team except for Neptune Dragon, who's not good yet. As a leader, you're able to perform a 64 times attack, 4 times recovery team, but it's better to pair with Awoken Hermes in most cases. That way you lose a bit of damage, but you gain double the health. So you become more durable that way, and that is a powerful team, and it can clear quite a bit of content in all honesty. Next is Awoken Liu Bei, and like I mentioned before, Awoken Liu Bei is the king of co-op. You acquire a bunch of Zeus Dioses, any other sub needed for utility, you push Zeus Dioses buttons, you swipe, and things die. Kind of kills the excitement gameplay, but it makes farming a breeze, makes it mindless, makes it easy. And a lot of people are doing it. So, for a lot of people who don't have Awoken Liu Bei, you can use your own Australis, a Green Odin, or a Perseus as viable alternatives. You do have less damage, you're not bind immune, you have inferior actives usually speaking, but it is an option. And for myself, I don't own a Liu Bei but on Mantastic, but I do on Fantastic, and I've actually been able to pair my Australis plus Liu Bei and button through a lot of dungeons. And this video here will showcase how I go through Lynthia Descended. I'm not going to play a YouTube video in a YouTube video because that's a little strange, so you can find that on your own time. Next is Awoken DQXQ, and DQXQ is perhaps one of the strongest cards from this pantheon because of how she forms a powerful leader that is capable of hitting 100 times with rainbows, and she also is one of the strongest mono light subs in the game. So one thing you have to note is that Awoken DQXQ did lose her bind recovery awakening, her recover bind awakening, and that is important because you're no longer able to form a row of hearts to clear binds, which means that she becomes you may not be able to use her as a sub in those regards anymore. However, she is able to form, like I said, 100 times damage team with light row stacking. You do tremendous amounts of damage. She is one of the more powerful glass cannon leaders available. Relatively easy to use, has flexible team building options. Her active has beautiful synergy forming your rows either of light or water, because you can trigger water 400 times. Like connecting 7 water orbs will trigger 100 times, so you have options, and she does remove jammer and poison orbs. However, she is still a glass cannon leader, and she does lack any health or recovery multipliers, so you are pretty vulnerable to most mechanics. She's also vulnerable to binds, but still a great option for players who need something that hits hard and fast. Outside of that leadership role, she has found pretty much a staple home on mirror teams because of her ideal awakenings and her active. Her active, like I said, removes the jammer and poison orbs, so that can save other orb changers, as well as producing light and hearts, which you require for Mirror's Heart Cross. Furthermore, you have perfect synergy with Apocalypse and wonderful synergy with Gadius, being able to form a light and heart orb board in both scenarios. And if you're like me and you happen to have lots of DQXQs, you can make the light form to capitalize on the Recover Bind Awakening to have a soft bind clear. And that's what I use on Mantastic, and it's proven quite effective, and I can clear Arena 3 with ease for my mirror team. Lastly, DQXQ is tremendously powerful for any new account because they still form a 16 times Rainbow Leader, but you can obviously pair up other Rainbow Leaders for more damage, or even more Awoken DQXQ, so on and so forth. But she's actually able to farm her own Awoken Evolution materials, and that is invaluable if you're starting out, because you're actually able to farm all the, you can clear all the descents to get her Awoken materials, awaken her, and then clear even more content. So she's a great starting leader overall. And finally we come to the chaotic flying general Lu Bu. And Lu Bu has been kind of losing ground over time, mostly because the teams that he was found on, or him as a leader, have kind of diminished in value. Like Awoken Lucifer and Pandora teams don't necessarily need that damage enhance from him, because nuking your own health is not pleasant in most cases, so you don't need to run him often. Like, his main purpose will probably be as a bind immune recover bind sub and inheriting a bind clear on top of him. That way you, or maybe a heart generating active as well, so you can form that row of hearts, heal yourself, and whatnot, and have the option for the burst damage at the end if necessary. However, as a leader, you can use him, and you can form a powerful tank team if you need a bit more health on your team, but it's really not worthwhile, and no Bungana, I can't say that name properly, is largely a stronger leader in most cases. So, in conclusion, like, this Gracious Banquet Godfest is quite exciting. Like, we do have powerful pantheons alongside our brand new Wisdom Kings, so there's a lot of value to be gained here. However, it is coinciding alongside the Final Fantasy collab, so your stones are fighting for competition in multiple places. Furthermore, there may be what is anticipated to be a Player's Choice Godfest, but those can be hit and miss because we don't know when it's going to happen, I don't know what's going to happen, and the voting can result in poorly chosen cards. So if you decide to roll in this Godfest, it's still quite powerful. Like, you have a lot of value here. So let me know what you are hoping to roll in the comments below. This whole article you see here will be linked in the YouTube description, so you will be able to find it and read it on your own time. So have a fantastic day, and happy puzzling!